Oh hey, Jeremy here from Long Speed Marine. Today we're getting back on our 1951 Mercury and we're going to be doing some front end stuff here, rad cradle stuff, so tag along for this video. So an update for those that are new to the channel and haven't really gone through and seen much about this car. I'm just going to do a quick update here on what we've got done, what this car is, and everything that's going on. So this is my 1951 Mercury Coupe, two-door coupe. This is what sort of set off the channel, what got it going, was this car because I was making some parts for the rocker panels. I made my own rocker panels for this car, the inner and outer rocker panels. And so just to document that, and a couple of people had asked me to, so that's what sort of started off this channel. So I got it as an unchopped car. It wasn't too rough, but the front fenders are actually rougher than we thought they were, of course, until you can sort of strip stuff apart, and we didn't really realize how bad the whole front clip on this car was. The front fenders are pretty bad. So I started out, my original thought was I was going to use the flathead and keep, retain all the other stuff. My goal on this car was not to, be anything fast or win any awards that way. It's just to be a nice cruiser. I did always plan on chopping it, but like I said, I had planned on using the flathead in it. So I did get the flathead running, but it needed some work, and of course in further investigation on doing the flathead, it would have cost me like $5,000 to be able to use that flathead. That's a lot of money. So then the decision was, okay, what motor do we put in it? I was looking for a small block Chevy. I can't believe how expensive small block Chevys are these days. So I was able at the time to pick up, this is a 4.8 Chevy LS based LT motor out of, not LT, anyways, truck motor out of a 2004 Chevy truck. Came with a transmission. I got it for $250 with the computer, transmission, everything. So, I mean, that was sort of a no-brainer. So that was it. And then the decision was I was going to upgrade the front suspension. But again, at the time, it was going to cost me about $2,000 to basically update the front suspension, put disc brakes and stuff on it. So, I mean, that seemed a little bit crazy. So then it was, all right, well, let's put a front clip in it. Well, if I'm putting a front clip in it, I might as well change the rear as well. I wanted to put this car on airbags, so it made sense to get something that would work well with airbags. So I ended up this frame. The majority of the frame here is the Mercury frame. Basically from here back, it is the Mercury frame. I'll get you in here in a second and show that to you. So the front clip is 85 Monte Carlo SS. And then in the back, what we did is I put in the rear suspension with the 4-link setup from that 85 Monte Carlo SS as well. So that's up in between the rear frame rails. So that all worked perfectly. So that's what the suspension is here. Then I got the top chopped, the motor put in. I've cut out the transmission because of course the motor sits a lot higher now, also because it's on bags and so that we can get it down real low. So I had to remake the whole tunnel and do all that kind of stuff. So let me show you this frame, what we got going on there, and then we'll get into doing this rad sport. All right, so here's the front clip that we've got in here. So this is that Monte Carlo front clip that basically we just shoved in between the Merc frame rail here. So we've got that sort of shoved in and then squeezed down the Merc frame rail and welded it all in up the front. The control arm mount, sort of lower control arm mount, ties into the frame as well. And then so from there back, it's all the stock Mercury frame. And then you can't really see too much, but I mean in the center there you can see the cross member from that G-body or Monte Carlo rear suspension. So that's up in between the frame. So here's the tunnel that I started building. So I'm going to carry on with that. That'll be another later video on that as well. I'll carry on with that. That's what we had to do to get this motor up, in, and high. So we've now got the master cylinder mounted up on the firewall. The firewall is all supported. That's actually triple thick. There's 3 pieces in here, one on the outside, one on the inside in the original firewall. So that's all supporting this, and it is really, really strong and stiff now with these bead rolls and everything in it. I will also do a brace from the inner bracket here. So this inner bracket here for the steering column and the pedals bracket will get tied into the dash. Hopefully you guys can see that. So that's what we've got done there for the brakes and the brake pedal situation, instead of it being underneath the car in the frame rail way down there. So that got that up and got me my power brake setup. All right, so now on to what we're working on here. Obviously, so because this whole front clip is new, the rad setup and all that, and how the front fenders mount is all new. So I was struggling a little bit with how to mount this. I had to cut these frame rails back pretty far so that the front end would slip over. On these Mercurys, the front fenders come in and then they actually curl back in. So I had to cut these front frame sections back. You can see the power steering box hangs out in front of the frame, so it kind of interferes with all of that because originally the original rad mount would come down here, and off the center of the frame there's a support mount right up in front that would hold that cradle, and then the cradle comes up and the fenders mount all off of that. So I had to somehow remake all of that. I wasn't happy with what I had here. I had thought for a minute that maybe I had totally screwed up on everything, but what was kind of messing me up when I put out that other sort of short video there of what I messed up is I didn't cut these frame rails in the same spot for whatever reason. This one is farther forward than that one. I should have cut that one the same distance as this. Oh well, oops, my bad. You can see, I'll bring you in here. Hopefully you can see my lines. So I marked a line where that cross member is, or the rad support is here and there, so you can see obviously it's much further back. So what I'm going to be working on here in this video is measuring that cradle up, getting it in the right spot centered so that it's basically square to the car, square to the frame, and then I'm going to drill down through it and through my rubber isolator mounts here that I have. They're just using these mounts. So I'm going to drill down through all of that and then weld in a castle nut into the frame. So it's going to have 2 3/8 bolts going all the way through and mounting that whole rad cradle. So that's what we're getting into now. I'm just going to grab my C-clamps and get my rad cradle back up here, and we'll start measuring this thing out. All right. Okay, so I've got my rad support sitting here now, and I've measured it, sort of got it squared up this way. I know it's sitting on a bit of an angle, but that's okay. I've got my forward and backward where it's supposed to be. So now I'm going to go and drill my holes in the top here. This was a bit of messing around trying to get this set up right. And with these clamps on here, it's kind of hard to hold it straight this way, but that's okay. It's basically straight the way it needs to be once the bolts go through. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and drill these holes out, and I'll try to get them as straight as possible, make them a little bit bigger than they need to be. And then that should give me my locations where I can weld in the castle nut on the frame. And then we'll go from there. Maybe I will try to straighten this out a little bit more, but it's kind of tough to get these clamps on with everything else that I've got going on here and still hold it relatively straight. It's kind of tricky. See if I can get this one maybe pushed back a little bit over here maybe. That might be better. Hold that one straight. If I can kind of get my mount. Well, I've got more of these mounts, so I'm going to have to sacrifice a couple drilling through. for now, but that should work decent enough. A little bit of kickback this way isn't too bad, but it'll get me at least a little bit straighter with my frame here now, and then I'll go from there. I'm just going to check my measurements, make sure I'm still close. Now I'm a little bit too far ahead, but if I'm the same on both sides, then that's okay. Yeah, I'm the same on both sides, so that's fine. So they're both the same on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up to drill my holes now and get cracking. Of course, the clamp falls off. Ow! Ow! Shoot. Ow. I had that bolt in there and just ran my hand into it. Okay. All right, so now I've got my 1/4 inch holes done, and now I can just upsize them, so I just need them to be 3/8, just a little bit bigger actually, so there's a little bit of play in it. So that's all. Do that now, but I can take these clamps off. I don't need these anymore. Perfect. Okay. So now I can open these up. Actually, they're going to need to be bigger than that to fit the castle nut. So this is what I'm going to go ahead and sink inside the frame, basically up like this. I'll put a bolt in it so it doesn't wreck it, and then I'll just sink that inside the frame. So I'll need to drill that hole out, obviously, so that that sits in there, and I'll weld around it. Same thing on this side. And then we can open those holes up and drill them right through. I only kind of wrecked this mount, so that's good. So this mount's still good. I just need to open the hole up inside of my rubber mounts here. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is open those holes up. Oh! Oops. Come on. Yow! Yaha! Get out of there! Arr. Okay. Just almost. Oh, I could hammer that in there actually. I think. Okay. Yeah, I should be able to hammer that one in. Next. Oh! Ah! 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 There we go. All right. Now I'll just clean this surface off a bit, hammer these in with a bolt in them, and weld them up. All right, so the reason why we put a bolt in there, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. When I weld this thing up, I'm obviously going to distort this hole, but then hopefully not get any weld into the center of the nut, and then I won't be able to get obviously the bolt back in. So that would be a shame. There we go. Okay. Oh, looks like I did get that bolt. It's okay, I should be able to get it out. Hope. Okay, so obviously I screwed that one up a little bit, but that's okay. I can run a tap through there What I'm going to do is I'll just grind this down, and then I'll run a tap through that, and it will be just fine. This one here worked out good. I can spin this one out with my fingers. So that's going to be perfect for our rad mount. I don't like how sometimes they, or always, usually on these bolts, these shoulder bolts, how far that shoulder goes down. It always seems like it screws me because, I mean, that's pretty much the width of my mount. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm not going to have any squish. I know the frame's going to be on top of it, but that's only like 1/4 of an inch. I don't like that. Anyways, let's see what my other bolts look like. All right, well, the grade 8s are exactly the same. That's kind of a bummer. I gotta try and drill this washer inside these mounts out. Unstarted. Oh, I didn't even drill these ones big enough. What the heck? Thought I drilled these. Guess not. Okay. Ow! Why is that getting tight? Okay, so now I'm sort of marking here this nut on the top of my power steering box. It's basically right in this area, so I need to drill a hole out in here to clear that nut. So I'm just cranking this down a little bit to try and make an impression on that, so I can see if I can get right at where that nut is. I can also use my marker to mark it wherever my marker is. Hello. Oh, in my pocket. That's a good place for it. All right, so let's just mark here. That's on that side of that. I mark this side. There. There. Okay. Now, so like I said, I got to drill a hole for that, and then we can bolt this thing back down and sort of finish off doing the rest of this. Oh, perfect. Yeah, it marked that pretty well. Okay. I can drill this thing out. Yo! All right, let's see what that does now. I think I'd like that to be a little bit bigger. Yep, okay. Oh, cramp. Oh. Oh dear. Got a cramp in my chest. Oh, I can't move. Oh, there we go. Whew. That sucks. Oh, doing it again. Oh, doing it again. Oh. Oh. Goodness. Oh. Yeah. Okay. That should be good. Let's try this again. All right, that's good enough for me to get started with mocking all the rest of this stuff up. Okay, so to describe here what I've got going on. So we're gonna have, this is our template here, and there's gonna be angle iron that comes up across the top and over here down to the other side, just like this sort of goes. This centerpiece, there'll be nothing there. And then we're gonna make a top piece out of sheet metal, and maybe some round bar just around the edges to stiffen it up, but then it's going to have the GM style Rad Cradle mounts up the top here, and in the bottom I'm just going to put some thin rubber in the bottom of this, so the Rad will sit on that thin rubber, be sandwiched in from the top, held down, and then I need to make a sort of a bracket on the front side here that will be for my AC condenser and the transmission cooler as well. If I decide to run a transmission cooler, the Rad has a transmission cooler in it, so I don't necessarily need to make one, but that was maybe the thought. So this is the S10 Rad, and I can actually get the rubber and put it in here now. But this is the S10 Rad, so it's going to sit in here like this, and then that clamp, this whole idea will come up and over top of it, like that. So that's what I've got to make. And then my fan that I'm using, this is a Volvo style fan. So it'll be, obviously it cools a Volvo, and we've, my buddy Gord's used these on a few hot rods. So they work pretty well and they're pretty slim. So I'll be able to make a shroud and have tons of clearance on the inside here to do that. So that's what I'm going to do next, is make the shroud and get this fan mounted to it, just in case that sort of changes where this Rad ends up sitting a little bit. Then we can, that'll dictate maybe this top clamp needs to be a bit smaller. So that's what I'm going to do next. So that'll be a next video on making the fan shroud for here. All right, well, that's going to do it for this video. Just sort of doing small baby steps as much as I can to get going on this and get motivated back to working on this thing again. So I really like that. That's actually, you know, that's good and stiff. Once the front end is all bolted onto this, man, this is not going to go anywhere because the fenders bolt back and that all holds this. So yeah, this is going to work really, really well. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm glad that my buddy Gord was able to come and sort of walk me through how to finish this thing off. And I'm glad that I didn't have to start over and remake all this, and that this is actually going to work. So stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe, smash the like so you can follow along with this project and all my other builds. Leave a comment down below of what you would have done here on this setup. Maybe you would have done the exact same thing. Maybe you like what I did. I don't know. But this is what we came up with, and just let me know. Let me know your thoughts. And take care, and we'll see you on the next one.